तस्मै गुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणं रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं साधुतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादं सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां भवनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the personality of Godhead, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed, the practice leads to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, whose praise with transcendental songs becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Tamasloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Shreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swastaya Dhanyam Swayamaha. This Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Om Sarvajaya Namaha. Om Surabhyay Namaha. Om Sarvajaya Namaha. Om Surabhyay Namaha. Om Sarvajaya Namaha. Om Surabhyay Namaha. Tam karoti vasanam tham dhanmangayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatanam yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatanam. Hare Krishna. We are continuing to read from the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 3, and today is text 116. Vaya Sakish Cha Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodaraha Satam Syur Hi Samagame Vaya Sakishta Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Urugaya Gunodaraha Satam Syurahi Samagame Vaya Sakishta Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Gaya Gunodaraha Shurahi Samagame Vaya Sakishta Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha Gaya Gunodaraha Satam Shurahi Samagame
Vayashakischa Bhagavan
Vaya Sakishta Bhagavan
Vasudeva Parayanaha Mrugaya Gunodhara Satam Shurhi Samagame
Vaya Sakishta Bhagavan
Vayashakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha
Gaya Nodara
Mrugaya Gunodhara
Samsuyahi Samhajame
Satam Shurhi Samagame
Vaya Sakishta Bhagavan
Vayashakischa Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayanaha
Gaya Gunodara
Mrugaya Gunodhara Satam Shurhi Samagame Vayasakisha Bhagavan Vasudeva Parayana Mrugaya Gunodhara Satam Shurhi Samagame
Vaya Sakihi,
Vayasakihi,
the son of Vyasadeva,
the son of Vyasadeva,
Cha,
Cha,
also
Bhagavan,
full in transcendental knowledge,
full in transcendental knowledge,
Vasudeva,
Vasudeva,
Lord Krishna,
Prayana,
attached to
text,
Urugaya,
Urugaya,
of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna,
of the personality of Krishna,
who is glorified
who is glorified
by great philosophers.
by great philosophers.
Guna Udaraha,
Guna Udaraha,
great qualities,
great qualities,
Satam,
Satam,
of the devotees,
of the devotees,
Syuhu,
Syuhu,
must have been. He, as a matter of fact,
as a matter of fact,
Samagame,
Samagame,
by the presence of
by the presence of
a translation and report by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, was also full in transcendental knowledge and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva. So there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees. Kindly repeat after me. Shukadeva Goswami,
Sukadeva Goswami,
the son of Vyasadeva,
the son of Vyasadeva,
was also full
was also full
in transcendental knowledge
in transcendental knowledge
and was a great devotee
and was a great devotee
of Lord Krishna,
of Lord Krishna,
son of Vasudeva.
son of Vasudeva.
So there must have been
So there must have been
discussion of Lord Krishna,
discussion of Lord Krishna,
who is glorified
who is glorified
by great philosophers
by great philosophers
and in the company
and in the company
of great devotees.
of great devotees.
For the word satam is very important in this verse. Satam means the pure devotees who have no other desire than to serve the Lord. Only in the association of such devotees are the transcendental glories of Lord Krishna properly discussed. It is said by the Lord that his topics are all full of spiritual significance. And once one properly hears about him in the association of the satam, certainly one senses the great potency and so automatically attains to the devotional stage of life. As already described, Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of the Lord from his very birth, and so was Shukadeva Goswami. Both of them were on the same level, although it appeared that Maharaj Parikshit was a great king accustomed to royal facilities, whereas Shukadeva Goswami was a typical renouncer of the world, so much so that he did not even put a cloth on his body. Superficially, Maharaj Pariksit and Shukadeva Goswami might seem to be opposites, but basically they were both unalloyed, pure devotees of the Lord. When such devotees are assembled together, there can be no topics save discussions of the topics of the Lord or Bhakti Yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita also, when there were talks between the Lord and his devotee Arjuna, there could not be any topic other than Bhakti Yoga, because the mundane scholars may speculate on it in their own ways. The use of the word cha after Vyasaki suggests, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, that both Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Pariksit were of the same category, settled long before although one was playing the part of the master and the other the disciple. And since Lord Krishna is the center of the topics, the word Vasudeva Parayana, or devotee of Vasudeva, suggests devotee of Lord Krishna, the common aim. Although there were many others who assembled at the place where Maharaj Parikshit was fasting, the natural conclusion is that there was no topic other than the glorification of Lord Krishna, because the principal speaker was Shukadeva Goswami and the chief audience was Maharaj Parikshit. So Srimad Bhagavatam, as it was spoken and heard by two principal devotees of the Lord, is only for the glorification of the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Translation again. Sri Goswami, the son of Vyasa, was also full in transcendental knowledge and was a devotee of Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. So there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees. Um, so in the purport, Prabhupada especially glorifies and explains how both Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, uh, although uh, physically and socially different, Parikshit Maharaj was Raja, King. Shukadeva Goswami was a young boy, uh, Brahmachari. Uh, but they were both very uh, supremely elevated personalities. Uh, so, um, and it is point being made that it is especially amongst such personalities who have the common interest of Krishna consciousness. Uh, there can be a very nice exchange. Uh, so, 2 points. One is that uh, regardless of one's uh, material position in society, as nicely exemplified um, by two other great personalities, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, uh, that famous exchange and conversation, um, and very important instruction given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Ramananda Roy was a householder, not born in the Brahmana family, was involved in politics, was uh, governor, um, and he was being questioned by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Uh, and Prabhupada explains Ramananda Roy was feeling shy and was hesitant to speak. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave that very famous instruction, Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kenenoi, Je Krishna Tattvameta, Se Guru Hoy. Whoever knows the science of Krishna can become, he's qualified to speak about Krishna, qualified to be a spiritual master. So, in the past times of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu engaged many householders. There's no bar for uh, practicing and for becoming uh, advanced in Krishna consciousness. From any of the ashramas, brahmacharis, uh, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, in in the Krishna consciousness movement. Uh, Anyone who is practicing Krishna consciousness, regardless of which ashram, uh, and also regardless of which varna as well. That's why Daiva actually Prabhupada translates varnashrama as divine culture, and our Acharya translates the word Daiva, divine, spiritual. And uh, the same point being made here, that when personalities come together about Krishna, ultimately the common goal for is is to understand more and more, is to engage more and more in Krishna's service, is to understand the mission of the Lord and to engage in that mission. So that is the focal point, actually, that is meant to be the focal point uh, within society, within specifically within the system of Varna and Ashrama. And when that is missing, or when that is absent, uh, or not kept in proper focus, as unfortunately has been the case for so many, we can say actually so many centuries, since the time of Lord Buddha. Buddha appeared, what, 2,500 years ago, before the appearance of Lord Jesus. At that time, there were inconsistencies um, between individuals of the Varnashrama system. Means the Brahmanas were uh, at odds with Kshatriyas. The Brahmanas were uh, not properly focused on Krishna consciousness. There were clashes. Uh, there must be clashes within society, even within the system of Varnashrama, when the proper focus is not there on Krishna. So therefore, uh, our more recent acharyas um, have especially pointed this out, that the society today, as we know, has become the full manifestation of Ugra Karma, where everything is unregulated, everything is very, very confused. mm, especially in the Western world. And therefore, um, the great challenge that all of us have, which is what our are trying to make us understand that uh, we must uh, both individually and collectively focus on uh, and collectively uh, and the chariots increase according to Kaladesha Patra and place circumstance. Um, so it's interesting actually because the whole movement of Chaitanya especially emphasizes bhakti, and of course the essence of bhakti is Krishna. Prabhupada in various things with these, he would explain that actually we cannot imitate personalities like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Haridas Thakur, who could just, as they did actually, uh, be absorbed in in Krishna consciousness. Um, and for example, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the last years in Jagannath, he was not interacting with anyone, completely fully absorbed in uh, Krishna. Um, only two personalities they would who were very well versed into Krishna consciousness. Sarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy. Uh, they they were just by quoting different verses, they would arouse the emotions and ecstasy within Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the mood of Srimati Radharani and serving Krishna is just beyond our uh, understanding. We can read about it. We can learn to appreciate it, of course. The Prabhupada mentioned how we cannot, and we will not imitate such personalities because that tendency. We see some devotees just mentioning of uh, leaning towards what is called uh, bhajana. There are two paths or two ways Acharyas described. The Gosti Anandi and Anandi. Bhajananandi are those who are inclined in their personal, um, we could say, more exclusively in their personal development. Um, in Vrindavan, they are known as Babajis. Of course, we give all respect to Babajis. Uh, actual Babajis, of course, are actually very rare. Uh, and in our line, uh, actually, especially since Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who was directly instructed by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I mean, as a young boy, uh, Bimal Prasad, no, his name, before he took initiation. He was like the secretary, because he was constantly with his father and receiving so many instructions. So our line, Prabhupada reminded us many times. Our line is a preaching line, preaching movement. Uh, we know about and we understand that ultimately uh, we will come to that point of becoming uh, absorbed in bhajan. Uh, and our acharyas, Prabhupada in particular, mentions how, yes, after preaching, uh, actually in the early days there used to be an expression, uh, work now, samadhi later. Sometimes devotees want to have samadhi now and kind of leave aside or take less interest in the preaching mission. Uh, very important point, actually. Our acharyas, our Vaishnava acharyas, they understand, especially they have very clear vision regarding this, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Kala Deshapatra, time, place, and circumstance. Uh, the whole world is presently, as we know, very badly misdirected, has been for a long time. And therefore, there's a tremendous need for preaching. If Prabhupada had not gone to the Western countries, we would not be sitting here this morning, isn't it? So, Srila Prabhupada understood very clearly, very deeply the mission of his spiritual master, therefore the mission of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur as well. And Prabhupada was very much understanding also about the you know those who are especially inclined towards uh, uh, bhajan anandi process. They are overly let's say captivated by this uh, what we call our individual swarup siddhi. We all have actually a particular spiritual nature or spiritual identity, um, and that gradually uh, becomes revealed in proper course. Papa gives a very nice example in his series of lectures on the nectar of devotion. He mentions how uh, the Swarup Siddhi is like in every human being at some particular stage in life, means adolescent life, the sex desire emerges. Sex desire is not there in a young boy or young girl, but the sex desire uh, it becomes automatically manifest when we reach what is called the age of puberty, when the body develops biologically, then sex desire, sex attraction manifests. In a similar way, our spiritual identity, our Swarup Siddhi, uh, also in course of time will also manifest. And in the same way that it is artificial, unfortunately, in modern day society, because of so much of propaganda, the whole setup of modern society, uh, that that is artificially uh, kind of forced in various ways um, uh, in young people, but it is better that it happened in a more natural way. So similarly, uh, our 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 attraction to Krishna are becoming absorbed in bhajan, for example, is something that will gradually take place. And it is recommended that in the later, generally, in the later stages of one's life, um, Prabhupada explains people who have sufficiently reached Krishna consciousness, uh, because in old age the body also cannot function as well as when one is younger, then one can retire and can actually be absorbed in the latter part of one's life. Can be at that time more absorbed in bhajan, and thus preparing oneself for leaving this body, leaving the material world, and going back to the spiritual world. Um, so, whether it is individually for ourselves in our practice of Krishna consciousness, or whether it is for the whole of society, because in modern day or in our modern present situation, uh, people don't even know the basics of Krishna consciousness. And, in general, Prabhupada would explain how general mass of people, they're innocent. If they have a good leader, it'll be good. They'll follow. People follow great personalities. And if the leader is bad, then they will tend to be also bad, to be engaged in. Uh, to a large extent, the whole of society has fallen into very degraded, sinful activities. So that means that uh, this point being brought out here, uh, the more Krishna is um, actually the focus in one's life, uh, amongst such persons, same point mentioned actually by Narada Muni, very same point Prabhupada explains in the purport of instructions given by Narada Muni to Yudhishthira Maharaj, um, when he speaks about developing the 30 qualities of a human being. The more these 30 qualities are manifest, then the better chances of a good relationship and community nicely being established. Actually, the point Prabhupada makes is that the more the more these qualities are present, then it's easier to establish varnashrama. It's easier to have proper social system, which is ideal social system is varnashrama. So our whole purpose is like yesterday, day before, one of our devotees. Actually, we have um, some very interesting, very I would say powerful um, creatures coming up in our It was in Hindi we follow. I think he has memorized something both from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, it was standard before that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at the age of 7, he had already memorized the 700 verses from the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, uh, I know one devotee, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, Bellari, he memorized a few years ago. He just decided uh, to memorize, and within less than 1 year, within 6 months, I think, he just concentrated on that. And not only he memorized, but he could recite, and he got some awards for that. He became what's it? The world record, Guinness Book of Record. Yeah, um, he could recite, and that was he told me that's the main reason he did that. Um, he could recite the whole 700 verses, just the verses, uh, in what? Uh, maybe 70 minutes. Just a little bit over 1 hour. Because actually the conversation that took place between Arjuna and Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, I mean, it was a battlefield. So you can't spend like hours and hours in discussion. It was a short exchange. And he wanted to get that message across, that Bhagavad Gita was spoken within a relatively short period of time, uh, because it was just, uh, yeah, question and answers, like I think within less than an hour and a half, something like that. Uh, so the point being that uh, when the situation is favorable, just like some of our children born in devotee families, especially if they're planned children. Nowadays, you know, the word family planning is has been misused. So-called modern day family planning is not family planning. The modern day family planning means taking contraceptives, and abortion is included there, etc. But there is proper what is called Vedic family planning, and Vedic family planning begins with the Garbhadhana Samskara. You know, and the more we have householders understanding how important it is to follow this Garbhadhana Samskara, then then we will get good progeny, good Krishna conscious children. Souls will be attracted to take birth in such families, and they will become powerful creatures. And there's a tremendous need, of course, now to have such personalities who can uh, very strongly and very widely present the message. I mean, every morning we recite how Bhagavatam is our very means of conquest. It is the message of the Bhagavatam, uh, and therefore, the more we have uh, devotees who are advanced in Krishna consciousness, naturally they will interact with common people, and common people will benefit in so many ways. And that's why, of course, Gurukul is so important, because that's how we can train individuals. That's why Varnashram College is so important. We can train our older devotees who have not been exposed to Gurukul, who don't have that experience. And that's why communities are so important. Vedic communities as Krishna plan so that devotees can have the good association of other devotees and these kinds of what is being mentioned here in the purport, in the text, such persons who have the common understanding and common goal. And that's the whole intent and purpose of Daiva Varnashrama is to, regardless of one's Varna or Ashrama, everyone is a devotee of Krishna. Everyone is fixed on individually these two things simultaneously. Individually, uh, seriously practicing Krishna consciousness, and simultaneously, collectively understanding the uh, mission of given to us by our acharyas. In our case, by our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, whose purports remain uh, more relevant than ever before. That they were relevant when he gave them, but even more relevant in the sense that society um, is in great need of this message. I'll just read the text again. That was 16. And Shukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, was also full in transcendental knowledge and was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, son of Vasudeva. So there must have been discussion of Lord Krishna, who is glorified by great philosophers and in the company of great devotees. Comments or questions? All saffron colored. Anyways,
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. I have a kind of topic which I don't want to speak about details, but the hearing.
hearing.
Yeah, because and not just the hearing, but the quality of the hearing and the quality of the speaking or teaching. And yesterday I followed one class which quoted a Vishnu Purana or some Puranas, which is explaining that four type of good listener and four type of bad listeners. They are like that. The best is the chataka bird, and then the swan, and then the parrot, and then the fish. And they are explaining the different qualities why they are good.
What's the first one?
The chataka bird.
Oh,
The chataka bird is famous. It is saying this the bird pew pew means, and maybe that's that they drink only water from the cloud. They don't drink water from the anywhere else. So there's something that very but they just nature the listener like a listener is focusing and taking only which is the essence of God. See, there are also a good listeners like a parrot who really understand, really repeat what they heard. They don't change. So that's very good quality Prabhupada thought. Don't change I thought. But many parrots are not really they repeating what not doing Prabhupada. So they hear that not make the translation. So I was thinking the speaker, how different speakers are in this age, who is like a chataka bird, who is like a swan, who is like a parrot, who is like a fish. All is good, because whatever type we have, whatever kind of listeners we are the same speaker. And the big question, how to develop listeners and speakers of the chataka bird quality in this our society. So that's would be my
I think a simple reply is that it's a question of purification. Isn't it? Uh, the more the speaker is purified, the more the listeners are purified, then there will be um, a greater benefit for both. Yeah. Similar to the example I was quoting, Prabhupada was giving, that the body biologically develops, where at a certain stage there is that natural attraction to the opposite sex, more spontaneous. Prabhupada was giving that example to explain about Swarup Siddhi. So uh, that's why, for example, in uh, this society, because there are so many uh, obstacles in terms of spiritual practice. Uh, the more we are attentive at doing as devotees, because all of us at different times we are called upon to hear and also to speak in our exchanges with others. So I would say the same principle based on gradually, or for the vast majority of us, uh, we we attain the level of siddha or siddhi. Uh, sadhana siddhi. Uh, so yeah, Krishna consciousness is all about individuals um, nicely putting it into practice. We recommend the same process recommended for all of us, and those who make that endeavor take matters more seriously, then their level of consciousness will be nicely um, developed. Ultimately, of course, none of that can take place in mercy. But Krishna's mercy comes more easily when we see we're making that effort, that endeavor. Interesting comparison.
Yeah, we can check also.
There's so many literatures, and most devotees have very learning, but we are meant to arrange our lives in such a way. Like in the early days, Prabhupada was encouraging devotees to have like classes 2 or 3 or 4 times a day. But